Hey everyone, it's Scott. I'm editing this episode, and in this episode, Sean mentions that they get off topic and he wants to move the topics around so it sounds like a more coherent podcast. No, you're just getting what they gave out, and I think that's more in the Mythos Buster spirit. See ya!
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. It's Sean. It's Justin. It's Ian. We're gonna do a little notification gang warm up here. And instead of doing technical time at the beginning, we'll talk about nonsense now because we are all Arkham all the time. On the actual episode once we get rolling. So, guys, I don't know if you've been watching it all, but there's a lot of good games to play. There's a lot of good games to play right now. It's a problem.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So what have you guys been playing other than Arkham at the moment?
I've got Ghost of Yotai. Yeah, we, Sean and some of our other crew that we did a lot of the Ghost of Tsushima stuff with, we picked up. We're, point of life, a little more hit and miss on getting to play the multiplayer, but
regrettably,
I just completed the single player.
Nice. Okay. Do you get a lot of multiplayer unlocks for doing that? That's my one point of FOMO right now. Otherwise, the single player is going on the shelf for me for a while.
I don't even know. I don't know. I'll have to check the next time we're on. But I mean, it would be a reason to do it. Otherwise, it's fine. That sounds like I'm damning it with faint praise. I'm not. I like the single player of Tsushima better.
Sure, that's fair. How about you, Ian? What you playing? Chess, I've seen at least.
Yeah. I was gonna say chess for sure. My son got really into chess, so then by proxy, the whole household's kind of gotten into chess now. So yeah, I've been diving deep there. It's a big rabbit hole because it's not just playing, but watching chess videos and. But my son is far better than me now, so I remember when he was younger, I would go easy on him, and now I wish I wouldn't have because he just crushes me over and over.
Oh no, he's far too young to be taking on the old man now. No, Ian.
Yeah, he is way more advanced than me. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, when I was younger, I got into chess, but it's kind of fun exploring it now when I'm older and exploring parts of it I never did before. So there's chess. I don't think I've played too much in terms of video games lately, but there's a couple board games I've played. One is Heat, which is a racing board game. That one's a lot of fun. Have either of you guys played that one?
Haven't even heard of it.
I think even if you don't have an interest in racing, it's a lot of fun. It's like a hand management deck building type game, but you're racing cars. And so you can even string races together like a campaign. So you add cards to your deck that are upgrading your car essentially. And yeah, it's a really fun game. So that's Heat. What other board game did I play recently? Probably something that's skipping my mind at the moment. I've been doing a lot of organizing my board game collection. I don't know if that counts.
It's a game in and of itself, my friends.
Brother, what is being a board gamer if you're not going for the record of highest ratio of time spent played, time spent opening and talking and organizing and showing off your board games versus time to actually playing.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Ian, grain of salt with me approving of that. I spent part of this morning literally mocking up a table and a shelf of games that I am selling at a board game market next Saturday, so nice. I could see where they would fit and getting the price tags on them, and it felt oddly satisfying.
I know, I've been thinking of doing that because they always have a flea market at my local game store. I need to offload a few of the games that I'm not going to play ever, probably.
It's just so easy to do it that way. So, side note, anyone in the Twin Cities area, May 2nd at noon at Broken Cloud Brewing. Be there. I'll be there.
Yeah, because the thing is, I'm never going to do it if I have to ship it to anyone. I don't want to sell online, have to ship it. If I can go in person and just sell it that way and it's just gone, then I'll do it.
Honest exchange. Just give me goods and or services for currency, and we're good, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I also recently, I know I pointed this out, but I recently like whole new shelves, whole new everything, and I ended up purging a bunch. But now I am on a purely one in, one out basis with board games, and it's painful. Because
you're far more disciplined than I.
Well, no, I have yet to actually exercise it because I finally ran up against my first board game where I'm like, oh, I would like to buy that, yes. And it was Nick brought over Fate of the Fellowship, which if
that
you don't
one
know
is really good. Yeah.
Yes, it is really good because it's very similar to the Star Wars Clone Wars game that I have that Scott has talked about on the podcast, which is essentially it's a pandemic system game, but you're traveling across planets and icing droids instead of removing virus cubes. But Fate of the Fellowship takes it even a step farther with it's vaguely a pandemic, but there's a lot of extra tactical systems on top of it that make it really juicy. And on top of that, you get to play 2 characters every game, and obviously each character has their own abilities. So like the different combos of how it goes was really fun, and it's hard. Nick, Kip, and I played 3 games in a row, and we lost them all. So,
yeah, I haven't beat it yet, but I had fun doing it.
Right? Do you think it's pretty nice and meaty?
Oh yeah, like it obviously has the pandemic bones, but I never felt like, oh, this is like pandemic wearing a Lord of the Rings costume. Like it felt very Lord of the like when you're playing it, you feel like you're making Lord of the Rings decisions, like. For example, one of the key mechanics is like the Eye of Sauron moves from region to region, and it's bad if it's in the same area as the ring bearer, as you might imagine. But whenever you wage a battle, it attracts his eye. So like there's a lot of like strategy of like, oh, let me fight a battle here so I can attract Sauron's attention. So it feels very, very Lord.
It's a really cool mechanical melange that feels so thematic because it's like, how can we keep the heat off Frodo?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's really cool. All right, well, shall we talk about the game at hand, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, and welcome to Mythos Busters. I'm Sean. Joining me today, I was about to say tonight, but it's not night. We're doing a European-friendly, middle of the afternoon episode. So hi to any Europeans out there. We've got Ian. Hey, Ian.
Hello.
We've got Justin. Hey, Justin.
Hello.
Scott unfortunately couldn't make this one, though I'm sure he'll have plenty of thoughts for us next time he hops on. But today we're going to do just a couple of short announcements, and then we are going to dive straight into what we're talking about, because I'm sure we are going to talk at length. We have our hands on the new core for Arkham Horror, the card game. In addition, we have been so bogged down with everything and have not been able to record. We also have the starter decks. So I was hoping to have like maybe an episode or two where we were just talking about the pure core experience, but alas, that experience kind of blew by me. I don't know about you guys. But yeah, so that's what we're doing tonight. So let's hop into a couple of just agenda pieces here. Justin, you want to talk patron stuff?
Patron shout out. Thank you to all our patrons. As always, you enable us to do really cool stuff. And our most recent list of board members: Rick, John D, Kevin, John G, Ben, Carl, Jared, Jesse, Walker, Patrick, Morton, and Ian. Thank you, board members. Check us out on Patreon. Remember that our paid subscribers on Patreon get access to Dissonant Voices in the Arkham Cards app. So it's that connection. That's one of the benefits. Speaking of Dissonant Voices, Sean, why don't you tell us some more?
Oh my God, I can talk, I can podcast. I swear this is not my first time. That's a fantastic intro. Thank you, Justin. Dissonant Voices update. So I had a really good clip going with the Drowned City, and then personal life just had a bunch of things pop off at once and kind of knocked me off course for pretty much all of March and most of February. Most of April. But anyway, we're back on it, and we took a detour, and I knocked out the Brethren of Ash campaign. So if you were playing through the Brethren of Ash campaign, and you would like to have someone read you the campaign the campaign story entries, we have that. And just like the core set before, it went straight on our YouTube channel, available for everyone immediately. And I'm going to say that Drowned City, I am 2 sessions away from finishing it. I am on the Doom of Arkham, which has 2 parts. I just completed the run of interludes and completing tasks. And it took me longer to do that than it did to take the entirety of the Brethren of Ash campaign, start to finish, through the Dissonant Voices process. So I have lots of feelings about how that's going and how it was, and it's just kind of interesting to have a foot in both worlds so concretely at the moment. But anyway, Dissonant Voices for the Drowned City is almost done, which means that, as Justin mentioned, the connection that we offer to our patrons for the Arkham Cards app is next on my list to fix. We've had a little bit of a back-end, I don't want to call it a backage, but we had a back-end issue that ultimately means that the connection is only completed up through halfway through Hemlock Vale and not anything after that. And that is going to be the next thing we tackle. So more to come on that. Thanks everyone for your patience. I miss the smoothness of the connection on the new stuff too. But as always, it's available as it normally is beyond the connection. So check that out. Oh, what else? I suppose it's been a long time since we've streamed. I just wanted to point out, it's not technically Mythos Busters content, but I was invited by Olivia graciously to join in on the core set release stream that they did at FFG. So we got to play through the first scenario, almost all the way through the first scenario, and then we did a little bit of a Q&A with the devs, and it was a really good time. I enjoyed that. I got to be on camera with Nick again, and Duke and Reed and Olivia and Ryan and Wesley were all lovely. And that's out there on FFG Live if you want to go check it out. Justin, we went to the Miskatonic Masquerade, and I feel like we should maybe just talk about it slightly. Maybe we'll do some content focused on it more wholly later.
Yeah.
But
well, and we probably should share a picture or something at some point too. I don't have it queued up, so I say that, so I'm not. We'll get it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the brief summary for anybody who wasn't following along is FFG put on a Arkham / Masquerade party in they're called the Wabasha Street Caves. They're here in St. Paul, Minnesota. And to be clear, when I say caves, every time I talk about them, I have to remind people they're man-made caves. So imagine half a cylinder laid on its side. That's what they are for caves. They were for mushroom farming back in the day. It is not as like Batman Arkham type caves as I want them to be. But
sadly, no stalactites.
Yeah, it used to be a nightclub and an actual gangster hideout. St. Paul was notorious as a like gangster throughway. So it's a really cool space. They did a really nice job with it. There was like a scavenger hunt going on, some tarot readings, some tours of the caves. Yeah, it was a good time. There were some promos the designers were signing. And most everybody there was in costume, so we'll share some pictures. And
I got my wife to dress up like Diana Stanley. So
Oh wow!
follow your dreams, kids.
right.
But yeah, it was a real good time. So yeah, I think maybe we'll put together a little something, or at least share pictures in the Discord or something, because there were a fair few people from the community that we know there. Kelly Coldtoes flew in for it. It was just a really cool vibe. It was a very cool vibe, very cool little gathering and get together for the opening. So Olivia and crew, great job. Last little bit of business, Arkham Con.
I'll take that
Do
one
it.
too. Yeah, as most everybody knows, we're back. We're throwing a con again. It's BusterCon, but we're calling it ArkhamCon now to represent the ever-expanding nature of this thing, including the fact that we have a kick-ass team working on it this year. Tickets are almost gone already. We just launched probably 2.5 weeks ago, and they're almost gone. So if you're interested in that, check it out sooner than later. And I mean, if they do sell it, we will have a waiting list because sometimes people drop off and whatnot, but it's going to be a really good time this October, and definitely check it out.
And I suppose one last little bit of just, it's not really an announcement, it's more of like a promise or a covenant, if you will. that in the coming days, I am very excited to get back to more regular, actual like content production. You know, we had a big backlog after we came back from break. Life didn't exactly cooperate for any of us in the regards of like having like a good amount of free time to deal with it. So I don't know. I don't want to do it, but I am a little like insecure about like how little we've actually been on camera or on mic doing the thing that we do, and we're doing all like the side stuff. So lest anyone else be worried that that's what it's going to look like going forward, know that the hump of getting us over that backlog is basically done, and I'm really hoping to see a lot more streams and possibly even some edited content going up out there on the YouTube and then into the podcast feed. So more to come on that. I'm looking forward to it for chapter 2. It was a really good moment to, kind of cross through that veil.
You had me so nervous there with your lead up, because for those who don't know, that part was not on our show notes, and boy was it a wind up. I'm like, where are we going? But I like where you landed.
No, only good things. Only good things. We're only excited for the future.
Yeah. And then other thing, before we dive in, we should call out, because I just saw it over in Twitch, Big Kahuna is keeping up the streak for the 30th month.
Chris just got it. And he said,
well done.
You
Thank
didn't dress
you.
up as Diana Stanley addressed to me, I'm sure. I thought about it. Honestly, that was one of my first thoughts when I decided I was going to go to this thing. But then when my wife was like, oh, I'm interested in going, like, what is the dress like? I'm like, oh, I've got an idea.
The dress code is Diana Stanley.
I ended up going as an OC coterie member, the man in the bloodstained hoodie. And I don't know, the vibe and like the cosplay vibes were a little bit different, so I didn't get to show it off, but I even had like a little like light up like antique salt shaker that I bought that was like the
nice.
Dispenser of eldritch salt. It was a whole thing.
I can confirm it was really cool.
Thank you. Yes, I did show it off to a few. But anyway, okay, enough of that. Let's dive into some Arkham. So guys, we had a new core set drop. I brought mine down with me because I know I'm going to need to refer to items. So I've got it all. I've got it all. And the starter decks are in here too.
You can see it in my background there.
So to start us off, I know, Ian, you and I chatted about this lightly, but the first thing I did was I was like, all right, you know what? I have a decade's worth, a backlog of accessories and chaos bags and all these things, and I'm not gonna touch any of them. I'm going into this like, what is this experience like, as if I were a person experiencing Arkham for the first time. Because there's a lot of nostalgia for those very early days where we were so excited for the first core and it came out and it was just like, it was it. And then B, because I don't know, just seemed like fun. But Ian, you did a similar thing, yeah?
I did, yeah. We didn't even coordinate this. We just had the same, on the same wavelength of, I think, technically I reported back that I finished raw dogging the core set, but that meant no accessories at all, just what came in the box. I really just wanted to, as much as I could, experience it as a new player would. And obviously I can't in terms of like gameplay, which we'll talk about once we get into the gameplay, how much my brain is just like wired for Arkham. So I can't experience it that way, but at least in terms of a product, I wanted to feel again what it was like just to play with core set components. So, I will say on subsequent campaigns, my accessories have come back.
Yes,
but
at
least for the first campaign, I wanted to see what it was like. I even used the chaos bag that came in the
100%,
box and all that. So yeah.
And I think it's going to be interesting to talk about as we, unfurl this conversation. We're kind of talking at it from three angles here, right? We're talking about it as like comparing it just as a core set product, as an introductory product, compared to the original. You can talk about it as just the next expansion in a long line of Arkham expansions. And then you can talk about it in a vacuum as if you are a new player and this is the only thing you own and have, right? So on the first one and the last one, I don't know why I ordered them in that way. It was completely irrelevant to what I'm talking about here. But on those first two, I think it is a really cool improvement that you do have like everything you need out of the core box. Like, if you end up becoming a really dedicated Arkham player, you're going to almost immediately need to figure something out for chaos tokens. But you still have everything you need out of the box this time, which I think is something that deserves recognition amidst all the grumbling we've been doing up to this point as a community.
Yeah, I remember how much conversation in the original core set was like, "There's no bag in the box. What do we do?" Because I think the rule book, obviously refers to chaos bag, and it's like, but there's no bag in the box. So that was the early scramblings of figuring out what you're going to use for that. But yeah, it's there. It's maybe not the bag you're going to keep with you forever, but you can certainly play right out of the box.
It's not the bag you want. It's the bag you deserve.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And again, location connectors, like that's another really popular like first upgrade that a lot of people do. Bikuna asked, unsleeved? No, I could never. I could never.
There are limits.
Yeah, let's keep it in our pants here, guys. All right.
See, I still appreciate you guys were going for the nostalgia of it, and you were into the game a little bit before I was as well, way back then. But I thought about it, but I was just like, man, I've spent oodles of money on this stuff for the tokens and whatever. And I just after all Sean, you finally have seen these. After a decade, I found tokens I liked in acrylic. I'm like, nope, that's what I'm playing with.
Chaos tokens specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know you've been searching for a chaos token solution that you're a big fan of, and it took a while.
Took years.
I'm glad you finally found it. Debating buying the bag plus the acrylic tokens. That is interesting. I had hands on the acrylic tokens from GameGenic, like the first party ones, during the stream that I was on, and they were fine. They were good. They're that kind of acrylic that's got like a little bit of like it grips on itself more than you wanted to, which is like my only concern for chaos tokens is that they bunch up and just keep spitting out the tentacle token. But I don't know. Turns out for me, if you're me, it just is how the game works. Even if you have really good tokens, the tentacle will just
it finds its way.
The tentacle finds a way.
Yep.
So upon opening the box, though, any other impressions or experiences you guys would mention?
I mean, the big thing is the insert. I don't know how much time to spend talking about that. I think Reddit has probably spent more time talking about it than it deserves. But I mean, the insert is there. I think it's nice. Again, I think it's nice to include it, like, because usually for those who are newer to the FFG experience, the old way was you get an insert that is completely non-functional. It's not even an insert. It's just like some random cardboard they put in their core sets that don't really do anything for you. So
if you're talking the old way, Ian.
Yeah, I'm talking about the old like core sets that you would get.
Because there is an old way and then there is an old way.
Yeah. Like it would just be this random cardboard that doesn't even hold the cards. So it's just like you just have a box that to hold things in. But
like they put art on it, but it's just there to hold the cards still in like literally in transit. Like there's no actual like use to it. Well, and what was interesting is like, that Valley would come in all of their core sets because they just had standardized packaging at the time, and you would learn like, oh, okay, I can take the Valley and make it like a plateau because you would just like take it out and like and reverse everything, and then instead of one lane you'd get two out of it, and that was the hack. But we don't have to do that anymore. The insert is. I think the idea of it is good to kind of piggyback on what you're saying. I do think the measurements, and I know this has already been commented on, but I do agree that I wish the horizontal measurements had been just a little bit wider because once you sleeve cards.
Yeah, it didn't account for sleeves.
Yeah, it's a little bit more tight than feels good in my opinion.
Yeah,
and so I agree with that, and I know there's been a lot of digital ink spilled on it.
Yes,
but going back to the different angles we're looking at it, I've finally landed on. I like what they did, even if it could be better.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
because I'm coming at it from the angle of the new players, which is clearly who they're going for here. The people who don't even know you sleeve cards, right? It's, hey, we're getting into a game. Well, it works very well when they're unsleeved. It helps sort. It's helping if this is the first game you're dipping your toe in, this type of thing. It's great, and then you will probably find other ways to store. I mean, do I wish that it worked as well as others? Yeah. But if they are that hyper focused on the new player, I think that for that it's a good job. That's not just me being an FFG shill.
Please,
I don't think
we
anyone
don't
would usually
shill.
accuse me of that. But I've been really looking at this one through the new player lens, and I think for that, if I am a even newer than new player, it works.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if I was coming at it from the mindset that this is my insert that I'm going to use for whatever purpose forever, yeah, I probably wouldn't be happy with it because it's not holding the sleeves like comfortably. Maybe not as sturdy as I would like, but like for those more experienced players, we all know like we're going to have a different storage solution, like just because of the number of cards you have. You're not going to store your player cards in there long term because there's too many player cards. Like
Yeah.
my old core chapter 1 cards are in one giant wooden case and they all kind of fit in there. So now I need to get a new case probably to hold those going forward. And then so maybe these will hold just like the chapter 2 core campaign cards realistically, which is fine for that purpose.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like once you become a card gamer, capital C,
Yeah.
capital G, you just kind of like learn, all right, it's very rare that an insert serves your needs for more than a tiny stretch of time, right? Like, is that fair to say? Like, there's almost always an external solution needed just for usability purposes for a game that ends up being, a lifestyle game that you go back to, regularly enough that you need to figure out a storage solution for it. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think as a first impression, it's not bad. I am going to grant the crown of insert to the revised core, the old core, not the old core, because the old core was in like the little mini box. You had to buy 2 of them and you couldn't even stand the cards up. But I think the insert that had been coming in the big boxes since they switched to the revised core and the larger campaign structure, I have comments on that too, but it is a little bit more usable to me than what we have in this one. But that also could just be me having gotten used to those ones way better.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing in terms of first impressions is I don't know how to. I like the look of the rule book and the the campaign guide. And FFG has experimented with different ways. We'll probably talk more about the actual rules content, but in terms of how they're structured, like FFG has experimented over time. Like they used to have just one rule book back in the day, and then they started doing like a quick start guide and a rules reference, and then sometimes the rules reference would just be online. But I like that we just kind of got one big meaty rule book and it's well laid out. And then the way that the campaign guide looks, it just like aesthetically it looks very pleasing. Like the giant Brethren of Ash art on the campaign guide is great. Yeah,
agree.
It's awesome.
Just all the words you're picking today, Ian, with the going after the meaty dog and the raw dog in it.
No one psychoanalyzed me today.
You are on a roll.
I know what Ian's possibly doing later. Playing Arkham, I assume. But yeah, I have some thoughts about the rulebook. I like started to open it like and try to read it cover to cover to have like real thoughts that I didn't get very far. But I do think they hit a good I guess they hit a good stride with it in that they can take advantage of the fact that we kind of have so much of the game existing, and they know like these are the questions that get asked the most often and are the most useful, and these are the concepts that like really need to be in the thing that's in the box, and then if people need to like delve beyond that, then we just default to the grimoire online, and hopefully, given that they're doing that from the front, we'll see, maybe more than, I don't know, were they updating the FAQ like 2 times
I think
a year
it's something,
before the final chapter one
like
somewhere
that,
around there. So, I don't know, depending on what needs clarifying, we might see more regular updates on things like that. So that could be cool. All right, so we're gonna keep it as clear as we can from story spoilers, talking about the campaign at first. But I do think it's pretty unavoidable to talk about the like mechanical spoilers a little bit off the jump.
Yeah.
So you have both played the whole campaign, yeah?
Sean,
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to call it out.
Campaign twice.
Nice.
Oh,
Same.
all right. Well, all right. Let's put the cherry on top of that. Because for me and Ian, this ain't no thing. But like, this is the first time Justin and I have, like, life has just made it so we were not able to get together and play through our first time on an Arkham release together. So Justin, you have finally capped 2 full campaigns playing solo. Was it true solo? Was it 2-handed solo? What was your experience? I'm so proud. I have so many questions.
Yeah. Well, and it was actually 2 1/3 because I scooped on one of them.
All right. Yeah, there you go. That's the solo experience.
It was two-handed. True solo just at this point doesn't interest me, and 2 is like good mental overhead and it works.
Same.
Yeah. So let's see. The first one I went through with Trish, with a deck customized from just the core stuff, and then Tommy. I'm using the starter decks a bunch just because I wanted to check the story and stuff out. Then I was like, well, let's get funky and let's try Carolyn and Marie. Did not get enough enemy management with that duo. I was hoping I could rush it with, cloovering, and I was like, no. So scooped that one. And then earlier today, I just finished with Carolyn again and Tommy. So then kind of balancing.
Cool.
I've also played it twice. One was 2-handed, one was solo. I did switch my usual through the life of chapter 1 was I always played true solo first, my very first play, and then 2-handed. This time I switched it. I did 2-handed first. So I don't know if that represents a changing of the guard or not. But so I started off with Trish and Izzy. I played I was trying to do the full newbie experience. I played with the starter decks, as in like the decks as they're pre-built, and I didn't customize them. I did regret that because, I did regret that experience. There's a lot of one-ofs in there, which does not make me happy. Which they
Look, dog ear for future content. Like my first thought was like, oh man, they went the one-of route, which like I get it because you want people to like see all the cards, see as many cards in a single deck, so they like get the experience and see what they want to change.
Yeah, they had to construct it that way, but in terms of like what you're giving new players in terms of consistency, it's rough. So needless to say, that campaign didn't end well. But it was fun. It was a good first experience. I still don't know if I have a good handle on playing Izzy without getting her killed often.
She's tenuous.
You really got to ride that line, especially with. I'm sure it'll get better as the card pool expands, but with the core stuff, and then.
Yeah, once Mystics get some more healing tools, I'm sure she'll be right as rain.
Maybe some different weapon options, like riding heavy on Meat Cleaver along with her own innate ability, and some other horror stuff is just asking a lot with the healing options that there are.
Riding heavy on meat. Ian, you need to stop.
I can't. I'm not trying to do this. The first one I was trying, but the rest is just...
What have I done? What have I opened?
To his credit, I think if you look in the new like rules reference thing, I think raw dogging and riding
That's
are
true.
terms.
It's in the rules reference in Grimoire for sure. Yeah. My second campaign was True Solo with Joe Diamond, who is like the new Roland. So that one went a lot better. Still didn't win the campaign because things happened in the third scenario, which we can talk about when we get to the third scenario in more detail. But yeah, he did really well in the second scenario and first scenario, and yeah, he's kind of built for True Solo, so not too surprising.
Yeah. Well, for my part, I know the first thought would be, all right, well, I'm going to hop into Dexter, but having gotten my hands on Marie ahead of that, I was like, all right, well, my purple urge is sated for the moment. I went with Izzy for my first one too, and paired her with Trish. And that one went pretty well, but that was my face check. So obviously mistakes were made because, you learn pretty quickly. There's a lot of mechanical similarities between this campaign and Night of the Zealot, as we'll talk about in a little bit. So I knew somewhat what I was doing, but at the same time, there's a lot of particulars that can get you in trouble because there are differences, important differences. So that one went pretty well. I ended up winning the campaign, but it's like the question mark winning the campaign option.
If that's right. That my first campaign I did get the question mark win. It wasn't an actual loss. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't feel good, but it is a win. Like, you didn't. So, yeah. Anyway. So, and then I've got another couple in. We were able to get a hold of the Investigator starter decks early because of the Miskatonic Masquerade, and I was like, well, I gotta like actually play these right now because they come out in 2 weeks, and if I don't play them right now, then I might as well have just gotten them in the store. So I have been playing the starter decks, no modifications, as opposed to like tweaking around with the core deck stuff, and those have been interesting. So I played a Tommy and Carolyn, and I am most of the way through an Andre and Marie playthrough, and both of those have been quite fun as well. So as far as the like play experience using only the small smattering, well, not small smattering, it's actually a pretty decent like injection of cards as releases go, but playing with just the new cards, how has the experience been? Like as far as like the metagame of chapter 2 as a closed environment, what thoughts do you guys have so far?
Overall positive. I will say I have the Investigator starter decks, but I got them on Monday, so I haven't even integrated them into my experience yet. So this is all core set cards when I'm talking about this. It's obviously super limited. In some ways it's been kind of nice. Like I'm so used to going on ArkhamDB and getting overwhelmed by all the options, and now it's just like, okay, I'm picking between a few cards. So obviously
I tipped at Hemlock. Like I had a like good knowledge on a good handle on just about everything I might want for any deck until Hemlock hit, and then I kind of lost it a little bit, and then Drowned City hit, and I'm like, God, I can't remember all of these. And
so this is a whole separate episode, but at some point I need to go back and like review the cards that I never played with, or like the archetypes from chapter 1, because there's a lot that just fell through the cracks. It's a
great idea.
But yeah, so playing with I'll say, like, thinking back to Core 1 experience, like, 10 years ago now, I think the selection of core cards is definitely better, I would say, in Chapter 2 in terms of the tools it gives you. Especially as a rogue player, like, I feel like the tools are a lot better, and you can... Yeah.
100p.
Yeah.
Across the board. I think every class made out better and ended up with like... a couple options for each thing you might need to do in the game, and they all have their class flavor, of course, but like I don't want to like trash the old core by any means, because they were figuring it out. They had far less a sense of what the metagame was and what each class would need. But oh boy, like you mentioned it for Rogue. I'm definitely going to say that Mystic out of the core set box is in such a better place, just immediately. With as far as like the diversity of spells and like actually a few events for grabbing clues. Yes it's a far better just if you're playing with just the core and that is your meta, you're in a much better place than you would have been had you done the same thing with chapter.
Sure.
Well, it's nice too for me. I'm playing the least amount of Arkham here. I feel like I still get to make some meaningful choices, and it's not just purely guiding my hand, because that's, that is nice for new players as well, or those of us who play less. But that's why for the starter decks, I'm just playing similar to you, Sean, with, hey, here's how it starts, and then I upgrade. But in just the core, even, I feel like I can make choices that matter. It's not like, oh, there's only one single choice, and it does, like, you're going to make this one. Yeah, there's not a ton of choice, but it's enough.
Yeah. And Real Shoelace says, old core is like, can I interest you in one copy of Rite of Seeking? Brother or sister? In the old core, we didn't even have Rite of Seeking out of the box. Mystic had to rely on events for clue acquisition entirely. Events and flashlight. And Agnes is going, okay, I'll play Look What I Found, but that's like it. It's so much better than it was.
And like the rogue
the
saying, oh, sure, you can use your agility to fight and investigate, which seems like no brainer, but that was not the core 1 experience for rogue at all. So yeah, just things like they just leveraged all those years of experience to just narrow down like what do we actually need to include in the core. So
at first I was kind of upset because I'm like, okay, so out of the core set, like in the old core, for the most part, with a couple of like limited exceptions, stat transference or like stat substitution was Mystic's thing, and that like was why they were good, because they have the high stat that's useless for everything unless you have the cool things that activate it, and then you can do things. So initially I was a bit salty about that, 'cause like, oh man, Mystic lost like one of their cool identities, at least like in the early card game pool. But now I've fully turned around. I'm like, no, it was a good idea, especially if you want to draw distinctions between the classes as far as like what stats they're generally going to be better at and what functions they generally are going to be more efficient at filling. I think it was the right call.
I'll say the one limitation I've run into, again, I'm only playing with core cards, not the Investigator yet, is upgrading. Like on my Joe Diamond run, this isn't in a humble brag, but I got so much XP in like the first couple scenarios that I didn't feel like I had enough like really powerful options to spend on. So in terms of like some of the upgrading options, like maybe this was just the Joe Diamond thing, I would have to look at some of the other classes. I was like, there's not a ton I can spend on that I'm really like blown away by that will like help me in the final scenario, for example. So, but yeah, that's just a small thing that I ran into.
I have run into that too with my core only decks, but I expect that's going to be a little bit easier once the starter decks get integrated into the greater card pool, because those starter decks are loaded with upgrades.
Yeah, I think it really is built to almost like, if they had made they can't do it because it would have made it prohibitively expensive and not their model. But if you think of like the 5 starter decks and the core all together, like that's a really good starting pool.
Yeah. And it would surprise me none to know that they were kind of in development at the same time, more or less, with that in mind. The idea that like this is the base Arkham meta that we are setting going forward, because those are the two things that will always be evergreen as far as they've announced so far.
Yeah, I feel like the upgrade cards in the car are almost like a taster of like this is what upgrading could look like.
Maybe. Okay, so as far as the player cards go, so we're talking about the player cards. So as far as the starting Investigators out of the core, how do we feel about them as a set, and does anyone stand out?
I mentioned Joe Diamond for solo. Like I think from when he was first previewed, it was obvious he was going to be pretty strong. Like card draw is good in a card game. Like giving card draw for what you're doing anyway is going to be good, and having like high combat and intellect is going to be good. So yeah, that's just kind of a no-brainer.
I think Trish is really good for solo.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just having like those two are just like kind of, you get to do more of what your class wants to do. Like you get to do more evades or draw cards while you investigate. I'll say on the other side of the coin, I'm not sure. I like Izzy as a character. I'm not saying she's bad. I'm not sure about Izzy as a newbie character, like Investigator, honestly. Like I feel like a lot of new players to Arkham are going to be like, oh, let's try this cool character and just get whomped because
that 5 health is a death sentence. Dude.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, I get why she had to have high sanity, given her ability. Why does she have 5 health? She's a red card. They shouldn't be able to print less than a 6 on a red card. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Did they they did with Silas already, but still. I'll stand by that. Part of Survivor. Okay, so this is actually building toward one of the other things I was going to say. I think that as a whole, the core Investigators generally do a much better job of representing the core of their respective factions, and like what they want, what they need, how they play, with the exception of Izzy. And of course it's Survivor, right? Like, of course it's Survivor. That's like, all right, well, what even is that? What even is the core of Survivor? But I will say it's having more than 5 health pretty solidly.
And I think if you compare it to like Core 1 Windy is very forgiving to new players. Like, leaving aside like the 1 combat, because a lot of players back then were like, what do I do with 1 combat? But we were all kind of new to the game. But in terms of her ability, like mulliganing a chaos token, like you can't think of a more new player friendly ability than that. Like, get another chance at the chaos bag. Whereas Izzy feels very much a kind of more an investigator that's more for more experienced players.
But yeah, I mean, the other ones all do a really good job. You know, I think Trish is a really good example of the rogue slippery, like, you know, because rogue's two main stats are going to be agility and intellect most of the time.
Yeah.
And just formalizing her being so good at clue acquisition and evading at the same time, like, that's so consummate rogue to me.
Yeah. I haven't played Dexter yet. What are your thoughts on Dexter as a newbie gator?
I think he's probably up there with Izzy as far as like skill floor goes. But I do think he's below Izzy in that regard. Just because, you know, I think Mystic in general is trickier just because if you're learning the game, all the things the game's trying to teach you, there's like an extra step for you to use your stats, or at least, you know, build your deck in such a way that you can boost your stats up when you need to use them. And utilizing that willpower is not always the most intuitive thing until you start to like see the cards and you're like, oh, I can fight and it's just my best stat, and that's what this is. But what I really think Dexter does best is out of the core box, he teaches you that, hey, Mystic's thing is you need to play down a bunch of assets in order to operate.
Yeah.
and Dexter, his ability just offers you that, and I think that's a really good choice for the core set Mystic experience is to just be like, okay, well, you gotta like build a little bit of a, you know, build an army of cards before you're really going to be trucking along, so here, do it faster. Which, you know, Agnes obviously was a great investigator always just because of her card access and her ability, but I do think that the Dexter experience is definitely going to be easier than the Agnes core only experience was.
Yeah, it does seem like building that ability to get assets out more quickly is like going to be positive for that early Mystic experience. The one we haven't talked about is Daniela. That's the other one that I haven't played yet. So my next campaign is going to be Daniela and Dexter, so I can round out that set. But Daniela is interesting because on the surface, to me, it seems like, whereas in the old core we had Roland, which was obviously like kind of a very strong investigator, but Daniela seems like it's teaching players more of like the supporty, tanky side of Guardian instead out the gate.
Yeah, that surprised me with this and with playing Tommy is, and maybe I just wasn't remembering it. I didn't remember the like a counterpunch or, you know, other things until later, and it's like, oh no, this wants you to let the enemies swing right away.
Right.
And that was a thing that was kind of new in the experience for me going through of thinking of it as, if I'm starting here, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think Daniela, you know, comparing her to Roland is a much better representative of what we would consider to be kind of Guardian strengths, right? Because Roland's a really good investigator, but I wouldn't call him like a typical Guardian. He's one where it's like he does Guardian shit because he's blue, but also like you got Seeker stuff going on, and his ability is getting clues. So, you know, it's a little less typical. I mean, Roland's always going to be great, but I think out of the box, if you want to teach people that Guardians are, you know, enemy management and distraction, support, and just, you know, murder machines, then I think what they did with Daniela is probably a good way to go. And she can take up to level 5 blue cards now, guys. It was like old Daniela would love that. Like, I will die on the hill that Daniela was like the most betrayed by the deck building rules of that expansion.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, so anything, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be comparing to the core, but anything that you guys feel like, oh, I kind of thought they would have this in there for, you know, the core itself or any specific class, but it's missing.
I thought they would have maybe one more option to help you go beyond what they're trying to teach you. So Trish is my example here, and when I was building it for our 2-player campaign, I was like, oh, I am mostly going to be a clover, or I will evade. I will probably need to kill something eventually. And it just felt light on the options to do that, even knowing that wasn't going to be her main focus. and I say that because this is a single player on the box. I don't know if there was even one more good straight up killing option for that she could use, I don't even want to say better about it. That's what I feel is missing, is that if you want the solo players to do it, I could see how that would maybe be rougher. In a 2-player thing, great, yay, it's all good, no notes.
Yeah. Well, and especially because a lot of the options that exist are experience cards. So, if you can struggle through your first scenario and do okay, then maybe you'll have a shot at rounding out your deck with some more enemy management in true solo as a seeker. But I would agree that maybe this is a more general statement for the core meta as a whole, but I do feel like damage and numbers have been, like, we've chopped the edges off a bit. Do you feel that way a little bit? Like, enemy health is generally more reasonable. Don't get me started on the fact that we have fucking whippoorwills instead of rats now. I will go off, but
I don't know if we came off good in that trade.
No, we did not. No, we did not. Although I will say alongside that I am glad that the core and the starter decks do have a lot of cards that say ignores aloof, and that's like a thing of value now. So like I'm more okay with it with that balance there, but like I also, like, I don't know, I'm gonna be sad that rats aren't around anymore, because it was nice to have like enemies in the early scenarios, or even like in the early part of a campaign in general, where it was like, oh, okay, this is an enemy, but it's not like that big a deal. It's just more of an annoyance enemy that I have to waste actions with, rather than the whippoorwills, which are not only an action sink, but if you happen to be in a place where you can't immediately deal with it, then it's hurting everything else too. I love whippoorwill as an enemy design, but oh boy, the core, having that be in the core instead of rats is I fear a sign of things to come.
It's an experience.
I definitely didn't get stuck in a room behind an arcane door with a whippoorwill and get completely screwed over.
Oh, it's so rough, dude. If you've never fallen into the whippoorwill pool, it's only a matter of time now, because guess what? Guess what this means, guys? Guess what this means? It means that whippoorwills can be in any fucking scenario in the future. Any single one. Whippoorwills can just show up, and that should terrify everyone a little bit.
That's when we need our dynamite and storm of spirits back. Yeah.
Honestly, if it gets too bad, that might be the first thing that makes me break out the chapter 1 cards. Right now, I'm still keeping them separate, but like, I don't know. If I have too bad an experience with a whippoorwill, I'm like, all right, where's Agnes?
Yeah. This is something missing, but in terms of something that I think is better as a general statement, are the talents in the core. I'm going back to 2016 again. We spent a lot of time, everyone was kind of trashing on the original talents, like it takes too much to use them and they're not worth it. And I don't know if
you're not playing Seeker, you don't have a resource engine to fuel them anyway, and like
right,
Seeker is the only one who could do it.
Like, I don't know if it's because we're more experienced as players to know how to use them, but it's also, I think they're better. I like how they give you a little bit of an extra boost depending on what you're doing. Like the rogue one, like, gives you extra if it's like an evade or that kind of thing. So gives you a little extra boost depending on what you're doing. So yeah, the talents are good. I think the set of allies that they gave is overall very good. Although I know Seekers probably have some feelings about, but their old Seeker ally option was busted. So let's just
yeah, it's
let's
true.
just admit that.
Shut up, Ian.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. There will always be stuff we miss. The thing that, like, as I'm looking at the player cards as a whole, and maybe this will be a good thing to ask Nick Duke next time we have them on, which is only a matter of time, of course, hopefully. It's odd to me how in a lot of cases we have cards that are just straight up ported over from chapter 1, and that's fine. They're staples and cards that should exist, and we want them to exist, so they're just over here now. Vicious Blow, great example. Straight up, just ported over. Then we have cards like Dorothy, who are like very obviously standing in the place of a card that we wanted to adjust from chapter 1. We got Dr. Christopher in there. And then we have this weird in-between ground, because I would think that in the case where you want to include a specific card, but you don't want it to do exactly what it did in Chapter 1, you would go the Dorothy route and kind of re-engineer it. They did that. Another good example is, instead of the 45, we have the 1911, where it's essentially the 45, but they had just kind of adjusted it on the curve a little bit. They knocked it down one resource, and it feels good. But it's a different card. It's not just the 45 with 3 cost. But then you have shit like a laboratory assistant, where it's obvious they wanted to include laboratory assistant, but they changed the icon, the skill icon on her only. And just like little things like that. I'm like, well, why didn't we just go the Dorothy route and like have an ally that's like mostly the same, because we wanted this in there, but we wanted to change it a little bit so it's a new card. So, or like Machete, I think is another good example of that, where it's like we wanted to include Machete, but we actually just changed Machete as opposed to naming it a new thing. Yeah. So
I honestly did not even notice that about the laboratory assistant.
Yeah, well, we didn't either until we were on stream and we were asking the questions, and then we examined it earlier, or closer rather. But yeah, I don't know what the reasoning is, or if there was conscious thought to, all right, well, here's the appropriate amount, we'll change a card and have it retain its name and identity and art, versus, all right, well, we just need to like make a new version of that function as a different card.
Well, that makes sense. It has something to do with the whole card pool too, like based on what the starting card pool is, how many of like the will icons there are, and did they need to just put that somewhere? And again, it's a question for them, but I wonder if that's part of it too.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Although, to Sean's point, they probably could have put the will icon on a new card instead. And so I don't know. Yeah,
shut up, Ian.
No, I mean, no, I think you're totally right. That's what it was. Yeah, I think it's true. It must have been like trying to balance out the icons, and that's the way it had to work. But yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, anyway, to your original point, Ian, I do think the ally spread is significantly better in this core than in cores of yore.
Yeah.
A couple of ones aside where I'm like, all right, this is good in like one kind of deck, and I probably won't take it anywhere else. Like, dude, I'm looking at Olivier Bishop right now. Like, do you remember when we had to like pay a whole ass XP for that shit? Olivier is a great example. This is Olivier's Cat Burglar, but he's here at level 0, and he's great.
And a level 0 rogue ally that boosts your agility in the core.
Dude, I was ready to go off on Mystic stuff until I saw Marie's deck, and I'm like, oh, there is a willpower boost that goes in your hand? That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned Machete, but that was a great change to like old staple card to balance it right out of the gate. And sure, do I want to just like hack down enemies willy-nilly, but for the health of the game, this is a much better version.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of running back to where we started with this. I think that's a good example of like how like the ends have been chopped off a bit. Like you don't see 5 health enemies popping out of the encounter deck until like the final scenario of the campaign. Up to that point, everything is, I mean, aside from the NPCs, are reasonably capped at like 4, and like most of them are like 2 to 3. So the fact that on the other side of the balance of the scale, which is what a scale does, if no one knew, is the player cards have all been made a little bit more reasonable. You don't have endless damage compression with no uses on the Machete, which was a huge part of kind of, I don't want to say warping the balance of the game, because it was a core set card last time. That was just the balance of the game. But I think very clearly later on, as they continued to develop weapons and damage and kind of play with that metagame, it became clear that they were like, all right, well, Machete was kind of overtuned. And now we can live in a world where that's not the case.
Yeah, because I think one of the big discoveries for weapons over the chapter 1 was that melee weapons tended to generally be better than firearms, just because they were unlimited and not limited by ammo, and yet they would still give you everything you need. So I think they're approaching this from the start of like, no, melee weapons are all going to be limited in some way, and that will encourage you to use the guns more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like I don't know if we'll ever get around to actually doing it, but like things I would change about Arkham in a true second edition. Melee weapons would inherently only be able to attack enemies engaged with you. Full stop.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, it makes sense. Yep.
If you want to differentiate between the two, that'd be the purest way to do it.
Yeah.
And then add a bunch of engage abilities, and it would be way more fun. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we didn't get a second edition. I don't know why I'm designing it. Any other cards you'd call out on the player card side that struck you in any particular way? I will call out the which one is it? It's in the Tommy starter. Hang on. Well, whatever. Nick designed shotgun, but it's not shotgun. It's better shotgun, and it's in the Tommy deck. Shoot, what was it called? I had to call that out because we knew it was going to happen, and it was just a matter of time until Nick gave us new shotgun.
Yep. It is bad.
I mean, I'm going to call it the 1911. I know it's just basic. It's just there to do a thing. But boy, does it feel good. Like, it just right amount of everything.
Yeah, for sure. There's some, like, a lot of it is just, like, bread and butter stuff that it's not, like, very flashy. But, like, having premonition in the core is, like, sure, of course. I really like what the decision Soul Link forces you to make as a skill is kind of like a bread and butter skill. Like, it gives you those three icons, but am I going to take the horror? Again, making that decision in Izzy's kind of tough, but for other investigators, yeah, I like that. Yeah,
I like, as a mystic who loves taking willpower tests and hates taking all the other types of tests, I'm very glad that the ability to just juice a test as you need to is like straight in the core. Anyone else notice that the art on Premonition has been like lightened? Like the background is way more vivid than the OG. These are just the things you notice when you've been here for 10 years.
Yeah, I think that probably goes along with, I think they mentioned they've purposely trying to make the player card art lighter versus the encounter art being darker feeling, so that's probably why they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be cool to do maybe like a whole episode just like straight up comparing like to like from OG core and this core. Probably a little bit more straight down than we want to drill today. But yeah. One thing I did want to call out in that regard, and if the freaking page will load here, I might be able to actually talk about it. Timely interruption. I think this is a very interesting card. In this conversational context, this is lucky. This is new lucky. It's serving the exact same function. However, I do think it's cool that it doesn't cost anything, and it's a little bit more powerful on the defensive stats, which feels pretty Survivor. I do love me some lucky, but like I saw this card, I'm like, oh, okay, that is actually like a more elegant design for that type of effect. I think going forward.
Yeah, there's definitely a few like differences there that'll matter to like those players who really like drilling down into tricky stuff. But yeah, it's essentially lucky. Like a few of the differences I can think of, obviously you don't have to pay for it. Lucky was just like a straight 2 to anything, and this one you could technically commit to something that like, because Lucky was God, now I'm forgetting what Lucky was.
Lucky 0 and Lucky 2 were your own test, but Lucky 3 could be any test at your location.
Okay.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah,
of?
So that was one thing I wanted to check. And also, Lucky you could only play if you fail. Technically, Timely Intervention, you could juice something if it matters how much you succeed by. Because it's just after you reveal Chaos tokens.
True, yeah. You don't have to be about to fail. Like this can be the like you said, like the dial in the test to succeed by a certain amount.
Yeah.
Which, probably would be, I don't know who we're going to get that it takes like rogue cards and survivor cards, but the agility icons are right there. So
yep.
Someone will really enjoy this a lot more in the future. But yeah, so just things like that. I'm not gonna hop on. I don't know that I'm ever gonna use Fedora, but it is cute that we have just some neutral, simple damage soak on a new slot that doesn't have a lot of competition. Though obviously, just about every hat slot that we get will push Fedora further and further into obscurity. Meta.
Have to slip that in. Have to.
All right. So okay. I think now we're gonna talk about the campaign. Yeah. Is it time to do a little spoilery stuff?
Yeah. So this is gonna be all the spoilers if you don't want to be spoiled.
Everyone has been warned. I'm sorry if we're gonna lose you for a moment. Please come back after you've done the core. But yeah, let's talk about it. So, Brethren of Ash.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
So I think off the jump, I do think that this feels better on the whole than Night of the Zealot as an intro campaign. Like it is a far more nuanced conversation once we start diving into the specific elements of its construction. But I do think as far as I don't know if people really remember it, but Night of the Zealot has some rough edges, especially like the first time you play it. And I guess we're also doing spoilers for Night of the Zealot, so sorry about that if anyone hasn't played the original core.
Fair, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of comparisons.
But yeah. So once you get through Midnight Masks and you realize like, oh, okay, well I kind of fucked it up because it's my first time, and I only got 2 cultists, and then the entire rest of the party jumps out on you in scenario 3. That's usually like. That's the L for most people their first time through is not knowing what you needed to do in Midnight Masks and getting just absolutely trounced in Devourer below when the cultists show back up.
Yeah. I we'll get into the specifics of the scenarios, but overall I agree. I think it's overall better experience as an intro campaign. It's very hard for me to turn off my experienced player brain, and like every single moment I'm comparing back to Night of the Zealot, which makes it difficult to fully experience it as a new player. I'm kind of curious how you experienced it, Justin. Not that you're a new player by any means, but just that I think Night of the Zealot is probably drilled more into Sean and I's brains. Is probably fair to say, like how you experienced this one.
You aren't as early game pilled as we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I played through that one, and that was back. I mean, again, right when I was getting into it, but also right when I was trying to even figure it out before Sean and I were as connected. This I did have the thought going through, even though I understand more of the game now. This did feel like it did a much better job teaching me things and leading me through, which was good. I also like that it felt like it gave you a couple of points throughout the campaign where, okay, let's say you made something didn't go as well, or you made a whoopsie. It didn't mean you were absolutely destroyed. This might be getting too mechanical. I don't know. You guys tell me if I need to shut up with it, because I forget where we do with the spoilers. But like at the end of the second campaign, or the second scenario, I like that it at least gives you a chance, even if you have not done all the things.
Yeah, it doesn't punish you as hard as Night of the Zealot does if you underperform in.
Yeah. I like that, even if part of it is just a game of chance. But again, we're playing a card game. We're literally drawing cards at random.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if I think you're referring to the fact that at the end of the second scenario too, you shuffle. If you didn't clear everyone, you shuffle the real culprit in with everyone who's left, and if you pull the culprit, the servant, right? The servant. The Harbinger is what the campaign guide calls it. The Harbinger. Yep. Of Elikos, then you get the good entry, which helps you in the setup. I like that. My only quibble with it is that I really wish there was more gradient between the best solution and the next best solution. Because the best solution is you just got all 6 of them, which is really hard to do. So great, good on you. There's only one person left, you know it's the one. But like if I got 5 out of 6 and that takes me from 100% down to 50% that I'm gonna get the good resolution or the entry, I guess. Like, I wish there had been some kind of mitigation in there to make that feel a little less.
Yeah,
I had the same thought, and I will care about that more if they use it as a mechanic in it, like future stuff for like the initial teaching people. Yeah, at first I was like, okay, wow, that's. I think the first time I got through, it turned into a like 1 of 3 chance. I'm like, okay, well, hey, at least it's a chance. But then the thought crept in. But if it continues to be, hey, we give you at least some off ramp. Yeah, there should absolutely be more of a gradient.
Yeah, I ran into that with my Joe Diamond campaign where I got 5 out of 6 and then I was like stoked and then I was like, wait a minute, it's just a 50-50 chance. I feel like I should get a little more reward. I feel like, to your point, Sean, it doesn't punish you as much if you do badly, but maybe doesn't reward you as much if you do well. I think it's fair to say.
Like well but imperfectly, yes.
Right, yeah. Which again, like you said, Justin, maybe is fine for this kind of beginner campaign.
The other thought, the one thing that I really will give Midnight Masks over Smoke and Mirrors is the mini boss. Because I do think it's a cool idea to have the servant in and among the other NPCs that you're searching through. But it also means that sometimes, and a significant portion of the times, the first thing you pull is going to be your mini boss. And if you're trying to move fast and move through the NPCs and like get this shit done, it sucks to always have that fear of like, all right, well, are we about to get wrecked if we move too fast? I think there's enough things slowing you down in that scenario. I liked it better in Midnight Masks, where that first agenda gave you a little bit of time and then you knew the boss was popping out after a certain point, as opposed to potentially being the first thing that you see.
Yeah, it's just such a different pace. I guess we're jumping into the second scenario, but it is such a different pace because like, it's just a defined timing point. You know when that mini boss is going to jump out in Midnight Mass, whereas this could be at any point. In my first campaign, the Servant of Flame was the very first one, which very much determined how I didn't do too well in the rest of the scenario.
Same!
Whereas my Joe Diamond one, the last one that I didn't reveal was the Servant of Flames. It didn't come out at all. So just such a different experience. And you don't necessarily control it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Is like it just... I have a really hard time because I have a really rough relationship with RNG in general. But I have a really rough time when such big hits of like such big swings of what's going on in the scenario do lie on kind of like a pure RNG, because sometimes it will just be the worst version of itself. And if the worst version of itself is just really, really tough and really, really going to make, very likely going to make you lose, then I don't know. I have a hard time with that. You should have to have a couple bad turns of luck before everything goes completely south. Not just the one.
And see, I hadn't thought about it from the view of it would pop out first, Sean. So I'm gonna have to reevaluate now, because I did have one much like Ian where I didn't get to it, and that's when I actually appreciated it, because I was like, oh my god, now that I know what this is, I want to always find and kill that.
Yeah, ideally.
And so when I realized that, and that it might not always come out, my current thought is, oh, well, that forces some interesting decisions of, do I just leave somebody I've spent clues on out and doing their thing to find something to help me later? So from that, if it's going to be on the back end, I think it forces an interesting decision throughout, which a lot of times these starter ones don't have a ton of decision. Flip side is I haven't had it come out and hit me in the face right away.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel good. It's
no,
it happened for me. It happened for me on the campaign I had, where neither of my investigators were particularly great at evading. Because, like, if you've got a full team where everyone's got like a little bit of something covered, and you can get someone in there to just kind of dodge tank for a little bit, you can buy yourself time. You can stabilize. You can have someone kite where everyone else is still doing things. But yeah, in low player counts, I think having the servant in there among the other NPCs going to go with mean.
Yeah. Almost makes me wonder if it would have been helped by having a mechanic like some of the other scenarios that have had cards under locations have had, where you can like peek and see what it is. I don't know what that would look like, but if it would have given you some opportunity to peek, that might help, so you can like choose when you want to uncover the servant.
Joke's on you. I peeked in high school.
Yeah, so that would be maybe a tweak that could happen. But one of the things I do like about this one compared to Midnight Mass, though, is the implementation of the codex. And that's something we got that didn't... Was Hemlock the first time we got the codex in Chapter 1?
Hemlock was the first codex.
So we're getting it very early, and I mean, it's just kind of a no-brainer mechanic for Arkham when you think about it. So we're getting it right off the bat now.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially for the little story dumps that happen, mid-play, and you don't need a full interlude for all of them. Sometimes they're just an NPC saying something.
Yep.
So I did like that. Another interesting... All right, we're just doing this out of order. I do want to go back. To Spreading Flames. Back. I don't know why we leap... It was probably me. It was my fault. I'll own it. I do want to leap back to it at a certain point, and maybe Scott, if he's feeling particularly generous, can figure out how to put it in the right order. But as far as Spreading Flames goes, what do you guys think about interacting with the actual NPCs once they're out? Because that is a fair bit different from Midnight Masks as well. If you remember Midnight Mask, each NPC, once they're out, had a parlay that it was a big cost or a hard test to hit, but if you hit it, they just bamfed into the victory display. Whereas this one scales. Not only does it scale per player to get them out, but it scales per player to complete them, which is a choice. And probably a good one. I have yet to play the core in full 4-player yet, so I'm not going to weigh in on that. But it was an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It felt good in 2-player. I don't know where it would land in for the scaling. I am looking forward to knowing it better, because I definitely had 1 or 2 times where I was like, yeah, all right, I can get the second time interacting with them, yay. And I wasted it, or like the first time and I forget which it is, but when I know what they do, then that will, I think, make a difference too.
Yeah, well, and I think that actually adds a cool layer of metagame to it when you actually know the scenario and you're not exploring the first few times, because each of the NPCs gives you something cool when you interact with them each time you do it. So that scales too. So, one of them draws cards, one of them lets you ice an enemy, one of them, lets you peek at the top card of the encounter deck. So if you're, tactically thinking about, okay, what do I need right now? And you have a couple of NPCs out, you might be able to find something you need in prioritizing one NPC versus another tactically. Maybe. It's a theory. I've yet to prove it.
Yeah, I played the true solo is interesting because obviously it's just kind of one and done because of how it scales. Whereas with the two-handed, I don't know. I think I would have to play it more. I think it's kind of appropriately scaled, it feels like, but I would have to experiment with it more. And I
don't have complaints yet.
Yeah, my hunch is probably some of the abilities are harder to pull off over and over again than others. Like
I can confirm that at least.
I'm thinking of Naomi's. It's like you just spend resources to trigger. Like that's fine.
I'm thinking of the singer. What's her head? Oh, I just did this dissonant voices. Margaret Liu. Because she requires that you succeed at a skill test by 2 or more, 1 time per player. And what was tough for me is, I was moving along. I had scooted my investigators out of a location where an enemy had dropped in. I cleared the clues off the next location and then drew the NPC, and it was her. And it's like, well, she's not going to hunt. She's going to stay here on this empty location where I don't want to be anymore. And yet somehow I have to figure out how to succeed, 2 tests at this location where I don't want to be. By 2 or more. And then at that point I'm like, all right, well this is why they have health values, I guess. because
Yeah.
I think sometimes tactically, if you're going for like the hard line, like we killed them all or we parlayed with them all, that's one thing to do. But I think if you're just trying to complete all the NPCs, then sometimes you might just need to come in swinging if they hop in at the wrong spot.
Yeah, she was by far the hardest one, just for the reason you mentioned. It was like, oh, and now what?
And now the -4 and the tentacle token are gonna play bongos with your
Well, I also had her, I
guess.
think, both times pop out on a like 4-shroud location, so I couldn't
Yeah.
just like be like, I could just investigate for the like hell of it. It's like, well, I'm not going to waste my toys doing that.
Like I had to have Izzy just camp down on that spot and hope, because she took Armitage, so she actually had really good willpower, and I was hoping that I'd pull a willpower test while she's camped there. But I'm like, all right, well, as soon as Trish needs help, I have to abandon this mission.
Yeah.
So luckily it worked out, but it was tight.
I was really tickled from a story perspective that David Renfield's one.
I know!
And in my Joe Diamond campaign, he ended up being the Harbinger. So that was a fun story moment.
Man, it makes me, it's fun and it's cool to see the character out there in a different way, but it also makes me sad because it's like, well, we probably will not be seeing David as another ally in chapter 2.
Yeah.
But I guess that's fine. He lives on in our hearts.
Yeah.
And
Served his purpose, I guess.
it was actually kind of cool to see most of the NPCs, if not all. I haven't checked all, but I think most of the NPCs are at least NPCs that we have seen in the game prior to this point. In either player cards or scenarios.
Right.
So it was kind of cool to see them come back and just be the Midnight Masks NPCs now. And they are their own separate set, encounter set. So I'm very curious to see where we might use those cards again. Well, I mean, in general, let me make a broader statement here. It will be interesting because in the old core set, there were a lot of sets that got used way more often than the others. Like you'll almost never see there was like one scenario where the Arkham Woods came back into play, and rats kind of fell off, and the agents sets like would occasionally get peppered in if it fit. But it'll be interesting to see which sets in this new core, because it seems like they've split them up a lot more deliberately and kind of have them operating on specific functions they're supposed to do, obviously, but it'll be interesting to see which ones get used more often than the others.
Yeah, and it's nice we have a dedicated Arkham location set, so we don't have to keep pulling Midnight Masks out.
Yeah.
And the sewer set is actually its own sewer, so I fully expect get used to seeing sewers in a lot of scenarios, I think, probably.
And like I have no complaints about the fact that chapter 1 was a lot of gallivanting. We didn't set a ton of campaigns specifically in Arkham. There were only a few. Everything else we're out somewhere else, and like maybe we'll tryst back to Arkham for a minute. But I'm kind of hoping that the core set, having these kind of thought out, we got 3 whole maps that any given scenario could add to. I'm kind of hoping that this is a harbinger of things to come, that a lot more of the focus of the campaigns will be set in Arkham.
Yeah.
With more of an
hope was the
occasional
harbinger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Assuming direct control. Cool. So, all right, let's hop back.
Yeah, let's go
hop
back
back.
to Spreading Flames. Yep.
And for editing
Rewind.
clarity, let's. I'm gonna intro this as if it were the first thing we talked about, like good podcasters who do things in order and read the show notes. So, Spreading Flames as an intro was, I think, really good. I think comparing it directly to The Gathering, it feels very similar. But I think it went out of its way to teach a couple of other important things. You guys agree? Like as a tutorial scenario, it did its job?
It did. It even got me to fall for a trap. I was like, because I was like, I happened to be geared up in one of them, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I know that's a lot of health. I'm not gonna read it wrong, like with the Ghoul Priest. Like, I bet I could get the 10, and so I like popped like 4 on it or something. Then it all gets healed. I'm like, son of a bitch! I should know better.
Hemlock should have taught you. Hemlock should have taught you. I'll never forget. Never forgive, never forget that fucking bear coming back in Twisted Hollow. Like I get it was supposed to be a jump scare, but also I'll never forgive Duke for that one.
Yeah, that was rough. Yeah, I think it's a good intro scenario. I think out of these three scenarios, this may just be me. I think this is the only one where I think I prefer the original. I think I prefer the Gathering as an intro scenario over this one. Whereas I prefer Spreading Flames over Midnight Mass, and definitely Smoke and Mirrors over, or Queen of Ash over Devouring Burlow. It's not that I think this one is bad. I think it's just a couple things. One is that initial setting of the Gathering is so evocative, like being in your house and like it being overrun, that you kind of can't get a better intro than that. I also think...
and it just like opening up into like caverns you didn't know was there. Is a very specific vibe that Night of the Zealot did really well.
Also, Lita is like a character is so memorable, like having her there, and also I think the build up to the boss, like to the Ghoul Priest, works really well. Like I get what they were going for by introducing this one earlier to teach you that some enemy should be run away from. I think some new players might struggle with that, even with the warning of what exactly they're supposed to do. Like, I don't think it gives you a lot of tools of what you're supposed to do there. So that would be my only hesitation, I think, about, like, introducing the boss that early into... Because, like, you could get that intro, like, on turn 2 if you just, like, clear the location right away and then, bam, like, there's a boss there. And for us, we know what to do. As a new player, I think they might have an issue there.
I could also see people getting hung up on it because I think we all know that health and sanity are just resources.
Yeah, exactly.
Spend.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe what I do is I just move and take the smack and things, go forward. That's not intuitive for someone just coming to the game. Like, they'll get there.
That's definitely a higher level play for sure to consider doing that.
Yeah, but I could definitely see somebody just getting like, that's where it ends.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It is a thing. I'm of two minds on this because there's actually a very delightful Souls game parallel, if everyone will indulge me for a moment. This is very much similar to the introductions of Demon Souls versus the first Dark Souls 1, because Demon Souls preceded it, so this is the old core, where when the boss finally shows up at the beginning tutorial, spoiler alert for all Souls games, the first boss is going to kill you probably. When he shows up, it's just that fight, and you do your best, and you ultimately get killed, and then you pop off to the Nexus, and then the game properly starts. However, in Dark Souls 1, they show you that first boss, and if you try to tangle with it the same way you did in Demon Souls, he just kills you, and you go back to the bonfire, and you gotta go try it again. The game actually sets you up to be like, no, you're not tangling with him right now. Run through this door, go get some more gear, come back, and then beat the boss. So, like, that parallel stuck out to me, on the approach between the old core, where the Ghoul Priest just shows up and you have the fight, versus this one where, like, the boss jump scares you, and then you run away, ideally, and then you properly get to fight later. But that said, what I think is the important piece here is, it's probably going to be rough for a lot of people on their first try because it's not always intuitive. The hint is there. They might not take it. They might do what you did, Justin, where it's like, oh, I can get some damage on him now anyway, and then I'll just, deal with the rest of it later. But it teaches you that, nope, this isn't it right now. Advance your act. You'll get to it later. And not always do you need to sit and tangle with the boss. And I'm thinking that's going to be a common theme, because if I know Duke's design as well as I think I do, particularly thinking about Hemlock, is Duke really, really wants the bosses to feel big and scary, and like if you beat them it was by the hair of your teeth, and not always do you beat them. Sometimes you just do the thing you're supposed to do while managing them, and I think that's more of his design philosophy for bosses in general. Obviously, there's lots of nuance to be injected there, But I think it's imparting a lesson that will be good for players to have had when new campaigns drop and we get lots more jump scares.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Trying to think of other like comparisons of this one. You start in the same. Oh yeah, I guess from a story perspective, I do think the your friend lead in is a little on the weaker side than it just being like your place. Like it might have just been, or I would have preferred like maybe you pick an ally from among the allies that no one took, or like from someone's deck, and it becomes that person who is lost. Or maybe if they had just named a person, but the vague second person.
Yeah, because it's the thing they have to do in a lot of campaign entries where they have to provide some kind of generic thing that ties investigators together, because you could pick any investigator, so they'll have to be like, oh, your mutual colleague or whatnot. So they did that with the friend, but yeah, I agree. It kind of makes for a weaker connection. Since Armitage is later, it could have just been Armitage's office or something. I don't know, or like a different university NPC.
They could have just said your friend and named them.
Yeah, just create a character.
That they are your friend. They've already given that story beat of you are aware of them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna make this dunk hard. Sorry, Nick and Duke, but like that could have been the reward card for the campaign. Is now you've unlocked this ally because he's your friend you rescued.
Yeah,
and that would have been the reward. Like collector's cool, and then like there's some interesting deck building stuff to be done there. But yeah. I would have preferred like a named character rather than just the repeated your friend.
Yeah.
But it's not offensive. It's just that's a little bit of a stylistic taste, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Do we just only refer to it as Nick's room because he is our friend
and Nick is the NPC? Yeah.
And so Nick is the NPC from this point forward.
Yes. Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Thus propose it to the group, and when we reconvene, we'll confirm.
Second.
Yep.
The humble abode of Nathaniel French.
So I burned down Nick's room.
But as far as enemies go, I feel like the hounds are reasonable. So it's like hounds and cultists, right, as opposed to rats and ghouls that we had in the OG. They felt pretty reasonable. I do think it would be very, very interesting, and maybe something we should do at some point, to like really go through like encounter set by encounter set, because there are parallels on that level too. But I do think that they did a decent job of not overwhelming players with crazy to handle enemies out of the gate. That said, the hound is rough. Like if you are not set up to deal with the hound is rough, because he's going to attack you and discard whatever you do have in play, and he's got 4 fucking evade, which
it's
why?
a rough ability. Yeah.
Which why? Like why couldn't it be 2 or 3? Like he's dealing the damage in a horror and discarding an asset from play. That's a little overclocked in my opinion, but
I had him pop up even in the third scenario early enough, and it was Carolyn, and she was like had no tricks, had assets I could not lose, and so it turned Tommy's turn into, how do I tank everything and get on the brink of dying to bust through the door and shoot at this thing once? And so it just
Yes, I think it's really rough to have one of your introductory enemies also be one of the enemies it's very rough to be caught flat-footed against, in my opinion. And that's why I'm kind of like lamenting the loss of rats, because it's like, okay, rats still will chip away at your health, they'll still teach you that lesson, but it's not like it's going to be like game warping if I draw that as my first encounter card and I wasn't like set up yet.
Yeah.
And that side I thought was a good mix.
Yeah.
Again, it does a good job teaching.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything really offensive in terms of the mix there. I will say his antagonist, like a fire cult, is really cool. Like I like this, and that gave the opportunity to have this kind of fire set, which is another one that will probably get used pretty often in other scenarios.
Because if you recall, Umordhoth was an entity of cold, so we did flip the script on that.
Yeah, totally flipped it. Yeah, there was a lot of cold motifs in the gathering for sure. And we haven't talked yet about another set, which is this core's version of Ancient Evils, which is Cosmic Evils.
Oh yeah. Let's.
Their opportunity to introduce the more civilized version of Ancient Evils, where it gives you a choice.
I do like it better. Like anytime Ancient Evils comes with a choice, it's automatically better for me, even if the choice is bullshit, and which sometimes it has been.
Which let's be clear, it is.
Yeah.
Direct damage, indirect horror, and surge, but
and surge, and I will point this out forever. This is probably going to be a very common newbie mistake out of the core set. Because you are surging and resolving Cosmic Evils, that peril carries over to the card you draw off surge too. So not only are you're taking your damage and horror, but you're drawing another encounter card that now has peril if it didn't have it before. So it's rough.
Fun.
Have you guys had Cosmic Evils surge into Cosmic Evils yet?
Oh, of course.
Not yet.
It must.
I haven't either. That's why.
No. Oh. And as soon as it does that, you're like, all right, well, I'll just take the Doom next time then. God.
I know. I have found myself taking Doom a lot because I'm just like, I don't want to tempt fate here.
Yep.
Schultze, I want a player card that sets fire to things. Okay, that is an interesting thing to talk about too.
That would be awesome.
The fact that fire is a core set, set out of the core, which is what core set means. That is a very interesting thing, and it makes me feel like that is probably a thing we're going to see a lot more. We were talking about sets we might see versus not see in future sets. I don't know. Maybe it's just me having played some mansions and seeing how big a central mechanic fire is to mansions that makes me think that. But they included it in the core, so we're probably going to see it again.
But it breaks my brain with the mansions comparison because of how the spreading,
right?
Or lack thereof of like it's not like in mansions where it's, oh my god, it's everywhere. What is happening?
Well, you wait till we play 4-player. I bet it'll get there. Yeah. We'll start seeing 4 encounter cards per round. It'll be like, oh my god, it's all fire. But to Schultze's point, I want a player card that sets fire to things. That would be a cool opportunity that they could still take because the core set has fire in it. You could absolutely have you could have any number of player cards that that is like, I don't know, it wouldn't be bonded because it doesn't come with it, but it would be tied to, search the collection for a fire treachery and add it to this location.
I think there is a card like that in Keeper's Nightmare because I remember Ian set me on fire with a flamethrower once.
It happens.
Yes.
That was an Ian special.
Yep.
But yeah, so then I guess talking about I think the last thing I'd want to throw in on the spreading flames piece is D to the R to the H to the A, Dr. Henry Armitage, as the pet NPC of the campaign. I think it's cool in general because he is a character that the lore goes back to a lot. So it does make sense that he would be the one that's there. I do think I do miss Lita a little bit because she was cracked as an ally. And the only thing that made her reasonable was the fact that you could only get her from Night of the Zealot, and everything that happened after the point where you get her, people are spreading out anyway, so it's not as crazy that she does what she does universally. If no one remembers, she gives a +1 combat to everyone at your location.
She increases the damage.
And what was an extra fight or something? Yeah, increases damage to monsters. Really good. But anyway, Armitage is great, and I do think Armitage is a big boon specifically to True
Helps
Solo.
out a lot.
Yeah,
especially in the final scenario.
Because he gives you 2... Yes, 100%. The fact that you can avoid attacks of opportunity as your first action, really big in solo. He gives you 2 stats that you really want. He's got a big pool of health. He costs... first of all, the campaign doesn't make you pay for him until the third scenario, which is really nice. But even when you do have to pay for him, his cost is very reasonable. It's not the reasonable 0 that we had with Lita. We get, God bless, we miss her, R.I.P. But he's a reasonable 3-drop.
He's also he's teaching something because you have the attack of opportunity thing on this card. People are going to see, because I think attack of opportunity is one of the things that is a mix of most misunderstood and most missed in Arkham. And so to have it be right there, right there front and center for new
Well, and even if you're
people,
getting the rules right,
and to help them with it. So as they're figuring out, then not penalizing them. I thought that was a great decision.
Yeah, and even if you're getting the rules right on attacks of opportunity, teaching you that, okay, sometimes showing you that, okay, sometimes getting the thing out and then doing the thing even though you're engaged with an enemy is the thing you need to do. We'll show it to you without a consequence, but you will carry forward the lesson that, okay, I have to play this. I just need to do this to do this thing. So I will take an attack of opportunity, which I do think managing attacks of opportunity is at least a middle level Arkham strategy.
My first run through, I knew you were busy, Sean, so I called our friend Chad, who is the head librarian over at the Restricted Collection. I'm like, so attack of opportunity question.
It's a cost. It happens before any of the things.
Yeah.
We should do some of those videos. I feel like they'd be good to have out there for new players. I'm sure a lot of people are, but I don't know. I keep thinking about ways to just welcome new people into Arkham, because as cool as all of this is for those of us lifers, like it's really cool that now it is easier to get into Arkham than it has been in a very long time. In theory, I don't know if people are having. I hope no one is having supply issues or is like pulling their hair out trying to get a hold of this stuff. But
well, throw a call out here, Sean, if for people to send us topics.
That's right. Yeah. If you're a new player and there are things you think, or if you're an existing player and you think there's things that would be valuable for us to cover, we are always open to ideas. As mentioned, we will actually be doing more content in the days to come. So
let us know on Discord or at mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. Or what's the phone number?
Oh,
yeah, it's been too long.
It's been too long since we've done this.
Yeah.
I was say I don't remember, so that's why it's something and then ends in myth.
203-493-6984. 203-493-MYTH, I believe. Anyway, we have a hotline. You can call in and leave a voicemail if you want. We play them on stream when people do them. So,
No.
Okay, so hopping to the third scenario, unless anyone had any further comments on Spreading Flames. Queen of Ash.
Queen of Ash.
AKA not Devourer Below, but kind of is Devourer Below.
Yeah.
It's hard. I can confirm
it's hard.
that.
Yeah. Let's start there.
Even for a veteran player.
Experienced players, it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, even for a veteran player who kind of generally knew what we were in for, like it's tough. I have yet to get the capital W on it in my 3 times through.
Same.
I have pulled the lever twice and full on lost once.
Yeah. I think overall it's more civilized than Devour Below. Devour Below had the big gang of enemies that would throw at you based on what you did in Midnight Mass, so any of the people you don't take care of in Midnight Mass would pop back out at you in Devour Below, so that was tough. And so this one doesn't do that, but I think the ending part where the Elikos throws a lot at you at once. And I don't know if you experienced that too, Justin, but because there's the boss itself, there's the Servant of Flame if you didn't take care of the servant, which my Joe Diamond didn't because I couldn't. There's also fire on the final location. So if you go in there at the wrong time, you can, which happened in my first campaign, you can get hit with so much damage and horror all at once, and you could just get knocked out right there.
Yeah, that's what I ran into. My first one through was going poorly, and then I got for both Trish and Tommy, I got no draw, none of my kit for either of them right away. I was hurting. I got to the point I'm like, well, this is I'm gonna be done, and so I'm gonna just push in there and see what happens. And then and now there's a boss, and now there's a mini boss, and now it's on fire.
Yeah,
I was like, and so then my follow-up was, well, and spoilers here, I'm like, well, now there's one other room, I'm gonna see what's in there, I bet I'm not gonna like it. And so then I went and I pulled the lever, because I was lucky to have gotten to pull the lever.
Yeah, same. It sounds like that's how all of our first campaigns went, but mine was Trish and Izzy. And so I had a last action with Izzy, and she was already on the verge, as Izzy does. And I was like, I'll just move her into the final location, which will advance the act. I, as a veteran player, know that's probably a bad idea, and I'm probably going to pay for it. But it was like getting late at night, and I was like, she's on the edge anyway, who cares? She's probably going to die. Sure enough, Elikos is revealed, and with the 3 damage and 3 horror. And I'm like, oh, maybe like in the initial form, it won't actually do its damage and horror. No. So Izzy just got, between that and fire, just got killed instantly. That turn. Walked in, got killed instantly. Trish was at a different location, thankfully, and so was able to just like run by everyone to the sluice room and just do the sacrifice, because that was the only option at that point.
It does throw a lot. I think the only time I had anyone with like higher agility was that first one, and it was just not going to work. So fire was a problem anyway. I love what they've done with fire. I actually have a mechanical question about it for this scenario when we get to it. But once the plus side of that first run that, I mean, ended with the lever pull was then I was able on my next one to on a, like, it was a final turn because we were ending in a room that was on fire and with Elikos. So we were done if the test didn't hit. Literal last token pull worked, so I was able to do the R2 version. But it was that tight.
Which, okay, I'm going to spin off on something about this later on, but the comparing that to the Night of the Zealot win question mark option, where you just chuck the NPC at the god because that's what the god wants and run away. I think narratively it's a lot cooler to just be like, we are under it, we need to kill this thing, self-sacrifice, go. Like it's a really cool like cinematic moment, and it's kind of more how you would expect a horror movie might end. So I did enjoy it for that.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely more narratively satisfying. The first one was very funny from a meme perspective of like Yida Chandler and like taking that, but it also feels very much like, oh, I'm obviously not supposed to do that. That's like the like kind of villainous thing to do. Whereas this is more the heroic.
You clicked a
sacrifice.
renegade prompt.
Yeah, exactly. And just kicked her at the boss. This one was more like, it felt more of a heroic moment of like, okay, Izzy's dead, Trish is gonna go sacrifice herself too to like save everything. So yeah, and it feels like you have to do a little more. I mean, it's just one test, but it feels a little more like you have to do something than just like toss an NPC at the boss. But
and it feels on theme, and like I hesitate to feed into this conversation too much because it leads to like gaming nihilism at its end. But it does feel on theme that like your first brush with a big bad old one, you try to tangle for a second. You're like, oh my God, this is way too much for me. What can I do? And then like the only option presented to you is that one, and you know, leads you to that conclusion. So cool ending. I do think it's a cool ending. Whatever else you might say about it.
Yeah. I do really wonder how brand new players are going to experience this. Like I kind of went into this scenario knowing it's probably going to be very hard. I'm probably not going to win. I mean, I guess it's similar to how we experienced Devour Below. And just like, it's going to take you a while to get a win probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and it like you really got to game it, and that's fine because that's kind of what you want if you're expecting that this is a new player purchase and possibly an only player purchase, like the only thing they might own. You want it to have some legs. Like it's totally fine for me that the third scenario is kind of ball busty in as long as it's in fun ways, which I guess is a little bit subjective. So to that end, I want to point out that I am not a huge fan of how fucking important it is to have high agility in this campaign.
Yeah.
Because it turns out it's really goddamned important, and I have yet to play a campaign with, you know, Trish did fine, But I'm excited to get farther in my my campaign with Andre, because I'm like, oh, okay, well, like, I can actually get rid of fire maybe now, because it's just, you always feel so pressed when you're under fire. And like fire always bamfs somewhere where something else bad is already happening. So like the idea of like going in and then dealing with the fire while the other thing hits you, like maybe that's the right call, but it sucks. Like, I don't know. You need a lot of fucking agility for this campaign.
I don't have a problem with it personally. But...
Shut up, Ian.
I do have some other elements that I have salts about, though.
Oh,
if we want to
please
discuss
go on.
One is, I'm not sure how much I'm a fan of how much the third scenario hates on your hand in discarding cards. I think it's perfectly valid for the scenarios and encounters to hate on your hand, even if I always don't like it. I'm not sure how I feel about it in this particular scenario when it's already throwing so much at you, and it's meant for new players to just be like, you know, that hand of options you have, just throw them all out. You're not going to be able to do anything. Maybe
Agreed.
It's just my campaigns that I experienced that, but a lot of times I just found myself like, ooh, cool new card. This is exactly the option I need to discard. Like, oh, you wanted to be able to do things? Your hand is gone. Like, I think that may have been one layer too much on what's already a difficult scenario. Like, I feel like you kind of want new players to use those options they have and, like, figure out solutions rather than get rid of those options, because that generally doesn't feel good.
Well, and you don't learn anything from it aside from like, all right,
Yeah.
well, what's plan B? Maybe
I should have passed that test. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If the answer is, well, why didn't you pass the test? Then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it's tough because I totally agree with you. But unfortunately, Arkham is not a purely tactical game. Sometimes, and I say sometimes, I really mean often, you can do everything exactly right, or in the tactically sound way, and then RNG is just gonna punch you in the mouth and see what you do about it. So I guess there is that, but I do fully agree with your point that hand hate specifically, I would have kept out of the starter campaign, because the starter campaign, you want to teach people to explore their options and how to use them. And yes, it never feels good. Even when you recognize it as a valid encounter strategy, when you're like, okay, the fuck do I do now? Like that, because there's no cards in your hand, like specifically, like that doesn't feel good. It feels way worse to have no cards in hand than to have no resources, just because of the way Arkham works.
Yeah. And maybe it was another case of like, we want to have hand hate stuff in the core set so we can use it in future scenarios, which
Probably
means we're going to face it in future scenarios. But again, putting it in the third scenario, which is already tough, is maybe too much. And so maybe it would have been included in a different scenario instead. I don't know. I'd have to look at the encounter sets again. But and there's also one particular treachery. Let me see if I can find the name of it. Which single-handedly ended my Joe Diamond campaign after it was going so well and I had a chance to get a win. And
is it one of the scenario-specific ones? I think I know which one.
I believe so. What is this?
Ashen Rebirth?
Freaking thing called? It probably is. Let me see.
It's our version of Immordhoth's
Yep,
Wrath.
Yep.
Yep.
Ashen Rebirth. Yep. You must either take 2 direct damage or 2 direct horror, whichever you have more of.
That's so fucking mean. That's so
and
fucking
it's a
mean.
will 4 test. That is just a game ender in card form.
Yeah, and
I don't know about that one as a treachery, honestly.
well, thank God it's scenario specific and not a core set encounter
Yes,
that we will
yes,
see
yes,
in other scenarios.
For sure.
I mean, I get it. Third scenario swings really hard, but yes, I agree. That one is the one that ended essentially my, because I was going to be able to survive the Elakos hit until I took that in the next Mythos, and I was like, oh, okay, now I have 1 turn less than I thought I would. Well,
yeah,
Sluice we go.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I want to call it a very specific thing that's related, but not really related. I think they did a pretty good job with metering the duplicates between the core set and the starter decks. We absolutely fucking missed out on a second copy of Ward of Protection, though. What the fuck? Like, Mystic got their extra copies of the basic spells, but we did not get an extra copy of Ward of Protection in Marie, and I'm kind of upset about it, honestly.
Kind of an important card.
Turns out.
Yep.
But as far as the structure goes, this one feels a lot like Devourer Below. You got the starting location, you got the row of interconnected stuff, and you got essentially the end location. The sewers are interesting. I'll be interested to see what they do with that location set in the future, because now we can. This most recent time I was playing through with Miguel and Marie, and Miguel, I don't know if have either of you looked at or played Miguel yet?
Not yet.
Okay, well, they finally did the trap investigator. That's his thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to be cute and play traps, and the way the location connections work just really messed with me, because like some of them are one way, so you have to go back to the culvert, and some of them you can go through. So like you really got to learn your location connections and probably not learn, just pay attention to would be a good start. Your location connections, because I really messed myself up with that. I did do a fun thing though. I put his I think it's just called Hunter's Cache or something like that on the bootlegger's cache location. So I'd like had both my characters go in there and then get like 2 resources and 2 cards during upkeep. Yeah, it was really fun.
It's like one of the Mario Brothers rooms with all the coins.
Yeah. Just keep hitting the block. I don't know. And I know I'm just kind of a salty bitch, and I wish that everything didn't like try to knock my jaw off that comes off the encounter deck. But I do really love to see those occasional locations where it's like, oh, cool. Something cool that helps, that I can interact with. Like, not everything's evil and gross, and when I stop here, I'm going to wish I hadn't. Because the game obviously has a place for all those things, but I do really love to see the occasional, like, ooh, cool place. And
yeah, it was definitely a nice surprise, because everything else in the scenario was trying so hard to kill me. So it's nice to have a little break room.
Yeah, I mean, as far as tempo with that one goes, it's really interesting, because I feel like you're going to have to pick your poison. You do have to pick your poison, because all the locations that connect to the end location have a shitty thing you do either when you enter or when you end your turn there. So, I think for most people, you're not going to want to end your turn at Elikos's location when you first start messing with Elikos. You're going to want to move in from the middle row, do some shit, and then evaluate or come back or escape or move to Lewis control or whatever it happens to be. But I was going somewhere with this, surely.
I don't know where you were going with it, but I know that was on my list of like things I wasn't as much a fan of for figuring out, because in theory there's the sluice gate after it, but for many people they're probably going to think, oh, I have to pop back, and that's just going to
it does hem you in, is I think ultimately what I was going for, is that you have to like pick your poison going in and then either just sit and deal with it or pop back to another bad place. Everyone might have to split up, because it's like one person, well, I can't lose cards from my hand, and another person's like, well, if I take horror, I'm fucked. Like, it's an interesting little map. I think it does a lot with few locations relatively.
I mean, realistically, to win, you're gonna have to be doing a lot of dodging back and forth. Like, there's very few that can tank, because Elikos hits for so much. 3 damage and 3 horror. If you stay there. And with 5 evade, it's not like you can reliably evade lock.
To my point.
And
even if you can, that only matters on her first side. Once she flips,
right,
then an evade is only good for you.
So it doesn't feel like there's a lot of options for just camping out there and doing what you need to do. You're just going to have to bounce, at least with what we have now in terms of cards, you're just going to have to bounce out and in a lot.
And I do think one of the going strategies is going to have to be to clear all of the middle row of clues, because they are, some of those middle row locations suck to deal with, but they are easier to get clues from than the one Elikos is camped on, because you have infinite clues there, but you're dealing with Elikos, you're dealing with a higher shroud, in addition to whatever Mythos tosses at you. So
yeah, I think you're going to have to go in with that collection of clues. To also help with like clearing fire too, because you can spend clues to get rid of fire potentially if you can't do the test. I think a lot will depend too on if you were able to get rid of the Servant of Flame in the prior scenario. That's what kind of undid my Joe Diamond. Even though I did so well because the very last card was the Servant of Flame in the previous scenario, I wasn't able to take care of it, and so having to deal with both at once was too much in this one. Well, especially true solo.
And on top of that, there are 2 additional mini boss enemies in the encounter deck by itself.
That's true.
So even if you ice the Servant of Flame, like you still have some tough boys coming at you.
That was in the one I mentioned that was getting down to the last pulls. I had there's one of the mini bosses that'll hit for 2 horror, and so I had Carolyn get all of it off Tommy, so he could move and then do a test in there, like knowing he was going to like would die in the hit if it didn't work. But it was all like, if I wanted to do everything, I had no weapons by that point because of other stuff, and like, oh my god, why is there a mini boss right now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just another layer of stuff to deal with. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I know they tested all player counts, but I do feel like predominantly, and this was true in Chapter 1, so it's not like this is a change or anything, but I do think that the game plays nicest at 4 players generally, just because the encounter deck's still the encounter deck either way. There's only so many things that scale for players, and the more people you have to spread those mini bosses around, like the better off you're going to be. The less likely they will like straight up end your campaign by themselves.
I am also curious, Sean, to that point, for when there's more, you're more likely to have at least one person or maybe 2 with higher agility. Because again, did we run into this was it Hemlock? I forget, there was one where it's basically like, you need agility, like the end, period.
Yeah, written in rock. Specifically written in rock. I mean, a Hemlock in general, but written in rock is what you're thinking.
I mean, it's never going to be equal across all stats. I get that. But especially with fire, and it does, like, I'm somewhere between curious and nervous for how that is used in the future. You need the agility, or you need investigators who move extra or have those tricks if you're going to be bamfing around. And it sure seems like this third scenario was geared toward that. And not that it can't be geared toward that, but that stood out to me for a core set, that it was very clearly like this one type of investigator are the ones who will do well. And then fire, I'm sure there's a reason for it, but in my mind you could have like 2 types of stat, like, I don't know, agility or intellect or something. Like, you're smart enough to put out the fire, because you can't be strong, you can't punch the fire out. Cool, I get it. You can't will it away.
It's not an enemy. You want it to be interacted with differently.
But
except, you can use agility on enemies, can't you?
Yeah, but I mean, and maybe there are others, and this is just the one that stood out because it was so featured in the set, or maybe there will be others that come up. But I'm like, oh, so there is a treachery that just says, here, extra agility, go, or you need to deal with it. I'm like,
Well, and I do think in general, health on cards. So the investigators are all within expected bounds, but I think health on cards in general is lower in this Chapter 2 only meta, in the current meta. So it makes fire all the more scary because it's going to hit everything you own. And like that, I do wish it were like maybe 1. Like, it's fine that it hits your stuff because it's fire. It's going to burn your things away. But man, like, if you walk in and get hit with fire at the wrong time, you could lose an ally, a hand slot if you're Mystic. There's like so many things that it just takes from you for so little.
I do like that it works on enemies, though.
Well, that was going to be my thing, is like, it most of the time works on enemies, except that one time you really want it to. Like, it makes sense that Alokos is immune to it, but it bothers me that the rest of them were immune.
Yep.
So, closing thoughts on the campaign as a whole, the core box as a product.
I know we ended on Salt because we need to get it out, but I liked it. I'm looking forward to more of this. I'm feeling refreshed and recharged with it. I'm still going to go back and do more with Chapter 1 separately because I need to, but it's a nice jumping in point. And I feel like because they have the starter deck so close to it, it's enough of a card pool to at least try some different things that aren't just the core for those of us who've played before, and I'm pretty high on it.
Yeah, I feel the same despite my moments of salt. I think it's overall a good campaign, a good product. I think even just on Queen of Ash, I think it's something that over time we'll figure out good strategies of dealing with all those things. And as the card pool improves, like, I don't think it's going to always be like this. I think there's ways to game it. But overall, yeah, I feel excited. I think originally I was thinking when Chapter 2 came out, I was going to be missing the Chapter 1 stuff more than I did, which is not to say that I don't. And I'm definitely going to, like you said, Justin, go back and play a lot of that stuff. And I want to figure out the stuff from Chapter 1 that I missed out on playing in terms of player cards. But overall, I feel excited to, like, I want to immediately start another Brethren of Ash campaign. So I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Ian, to that point with the Chapter 1 and 2 stuff, I was thinking about it because we've all talked about kind of keeping them separate, and I was curious where there'd start to be bleed. And more after I've been thinking about this, having played it twice, I think what I'm going to try first is still keep them very separate and just like pepper in Chapter 2 cards back in Chapter 1, because that way I know I'm still playing Chapter 2 as they've balanced it. So I'm not just like throwing something, I don't know, real janky in there, but I still get to play with some of the new toys in the stuff I've done before. I'd probably set myself a limit for how much I do, but that just, seeing what the cards are, that feels pretty good to me.
I'm more reinvigorated right now for Arkham than I have been in a long time, and that, you know, there's more factors going on for me there than just the game, but the game is a big part of it, and this new release and the more limited sandbox essentially to play in is kind of giving me life at the moment, because I mean, I love Chapter 1 obviously, but it is kind of cool to be like, okay, well, here are the new options and here are the new things to learn, and this is the new balance. And, you know, in addition, as a content creator, we're going to want to try to be connected to the new player experience, because now this is what it is, and this time it's actually planned for future proofing. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Ultimately, really think this was a great swing, the core box specifically, a great swing at doing what they're looking to do. As far as Brethren of Ash itself as a campaign, I think it does what it needs to do. I think, you know, we had our quibbles, we had our salt. I'm made of salt, so I assumed everyone thought I was going to come in with only negative thoughts. But no, I do really quite like the majority of it. It's very well constructed. And there are lots of things you can say about campaign length, especially, you know, as we're looking forward this year to only getting one more 3-part campaign. And, you know, potentially what's been said is that going forward, 5-part campaigns is kind of the biggest they'll get. Who knows? That, like, the thing I will say to everyone who's worried about that is, like, Arkham has always changed in that regard. We've gone through several paradigm shifts where different lengths and formats were announced, so it's whatever. All that being said, I will miss longer campaigns, but I am really enjoying the ability to just, like, make runs. You know, like, maybe I'm roguelite pilled right now just because of the video games I play. But it's been really fun to just be like, okay, campaign over, start up a new one. You know, with the first scenario goes real fast. I know how to set up the second one now, just like back in the old core days. And just be able to make runs, try new player cards, try new things, see new combinations. It's giving me life at the moment for Arkham. It's pretty cool. All right. Well, I think that's probably all we have to say today. Look forward to future content up to and including what we would do with a real Arkham 2nd Edition. I really do want to go through at some point and compare encounter set versus encounter set with the old core and be like, all right, well, here was the brutal old one. This is a more simple old one. Here's the version of the new one that kind of does some extra things. What do we think? I think that'd be interesting to go through. But anyway, check out Dissonant Voices. It will be fully up to date soon. We've got Arkham Con, like Justin said, few tickets left at the time of this recording. Probably by the time this actually goes out as an episode, we might be sold out. So I'm really sorry if we gave anyone false hopes, but probably still worth checking if you were looking to come. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this auspicious Sunday afternoon, and we will talk to you guys on the next one.